So we have launched our Youth Entrepreneur segment, and I am so excited to be speaking to Sinethemba Dangazele. And Sinethemba is the owner and founder of PES Promotions and Events with Sinethemba. And I am so glad to be chatting to Sinethemba this morning. And I just want to ask Sinethemba about, for us to share a bit about himself and his journey as an entrepreneur. So thank you so much, Sinethemba, for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Sinethemba. And I just want to know about you, Sinethemba. Just share with me a bit about who you are who is Sinethemba?
Well, Sinethemba is a young fella from Gugulethu. I grew up all my life in Gugulethu, Cape Town, and then I then relocated to Johannesburg just for 2 years, but I'm back now in Cape Town. I studied event management, and that's how I came about with my events company. So I remember I was in class and I was listening to our lecturer who was outlining what we would do for work the day we graduate. That was 4 years later. And I thought, look, man, I think I'll be able to do this on my own, right? And throughout all my undergrad studies, I was doing research on entrepreneurship, on starting your own business. And by the time I graduated, funny enough, I'd already had the company registered and had the company operating. So that is me. That is who Sinethemba is in a nutshell.
And that's so amazing to hear that. I mean, it sounds like you a mover and a shaker, because it looks like you don't want to wait. You want to get things moving.
I guess for me, it's all about creativity. I enjoy being in a space where I can be creative and I can be innovative, and I love solving problems. I always work and I always involve myself with projects that need problem solving. So when I'm in a space that is a little bit stagnant and a bit repetitive, I get bored and I feel as though there's nothing exciting happening. So I'm more about creativity. That's my livelihood. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Sinethemba. I see that you are also associated with the National Youth Development Agency. Tell
Yeah.
me more about that. And I think it's an agency that provides funding to youth businesses. So
Yeah.
share a bit about them and your journey.
Yeah, so the NYDA, which is the National Youth Development Agency, is a government initiative that funds business nationally, that fund youth businesses. So you would then essentially go to them and you would pitch an idea to them. And if they are impressed with the idea and they see the business potential, you then go through the process of funding. The beauty about it is that it's not a loan. So when they fund you, you are given that amount of money. For my business, they funded me 50,000 rand. It was not a loan; it was a proper funding, and I could work from zero. So it's a great capital, but it's 50,000 rand worth of equipment. So say now I was running a tech company with laptops, they would buy me laptops worth of 50,000 and so forth. So in my business, they then funded me with my tents, the tables and the chairs. I then went on to CEDA, which is then the Small Enterprise Development Agency, which is also a government initiative which works sort of, it's like two sides of the same coin with the NYDA, right? But they deal more with the marketing collateral. So they funded me 7,000 Rand worth of marketing collateral, posters, email signatures, and they did all these Corex boards, business cards, etc. And then finally, I was then part of entrepreneurial competition at SIBA, which is the Tertiary School in Business Administration, where we were 90 entrepreneurs with exchange students from Northeastleigh University. And five of us actually won 100,000 Rand, and I was part of the five. So all in all, I was then funded by these three institutions for my business. And it was just a great startup capital, because that's what we struggle with as young business people, capital, resources. So it was quite great for me because it was a great process. It was a great learning curve. It also challenged you intellectually, as well as to see if you've got what it takes. And yeah, that is my affiliation with them.
Awesome, and thanks a lot, Sinethemba, for that background on it. And yes, really, it is a when it comes to starting out, the finance is a challenge for most entrepreneurs and business owners starting out in the world. And I just wanted to congratulate you on also winning and becoming the top five,
Thank you.
and also your journey as an entrepreneur thus far. Share with me
Thank you.
a bit about your journey, and a bit more on PES promotions with promotions and events with Sinethemba. Share with me more about that business and how you have journeyed so far in this business concept.
Sure. So the business concept and the idea behind it was I wanted to be, I had imagined myself as this young person who is in this sort of uh, uh, prestigious event with prominent figures, and there's some like a president is getting married, and everybody is wearing tuxedos, and everybody is holding champagne glasses, looking fancy, looking smart. It's an upper auxiliary event. And I just imagined myself to be the guy with the lapel mic, just running around, making sure that everybody works. That was the simple idea behind it when I started. And so I then had to do research on how would I be able to get there. I then looked at the reality of the matter, for example, in Guguletu, and I realized that in Googs, the best position to start is to have equipment to hire out so that people could know you. So we've got a lot of traditional events, such as traditional ceremonies, right? And we have obviously a lot of funerals, a lot of sort of any events, your 21st events, your graduation parties. So what I then the initial idea then was, let us hire out equipment for the people of Koguletu for all the events that they're having. So let us build for them marquees. Let us give them the big pots, the 90-liter pots and tables and chairs. And so we can just grow it there. Then from there, the second step, the second phase would be to be able to then organize these kinds of events for them. So should they have a wedding, I then not only do I provide the equipment, but then I also organize the wedding for them. I can be the guy who will run around. I will be the guy who will do everything. So it's sort of like a two-way fold where we're organizing and we are hiring out. So sometimes they can have a different event organizer, but that organizer can come to us for equipment, for Tiffany chairs, or for whatever it is that they might need. So that was the whole concept behind it. And so slowly but surely, I just worked from my from Google It. I remember my first profit was 80 rand when I and then yeah, and then I remember my second profit was about 175 rand, and then that's now the second weekend, and the third weekend was 250, and after that, for 3 consecutive weekends, I made absolutely nothing, and I was stressing, and I thought, this thing called business, and I heard that it can't be like this. And then I remember on like the sixth weekend, the seventh weekend, I then made 1,300. From there, everything was like sort of history. From there now, from making 80 rand a weekend to making 5 grand every weekend, just working because people were getting to know me. And I was in competition with guys who have been in the game since 1920. I'm, sur- I'm surrounded by that's my competition. It's people who've been doing this, they know this. But I came with a young, fresh perspective. I was quick, I was on my feet, I was convenient, I was selling the dream, I was selling the lifestyle, I was using platforms that they weren't using, such as social media. I would go out and do radio interviews. I just knocked on doors day in, day out. I participated in courses such as the SAB Kickstart program, which just opens up doors for you. I went to so I just the process of building it was not just administrative, but pragmatically, I also had to just do whatever it was necessary for me to do, so to sort of outshine my competition. But the thing is, especially within our communities, in a business world, generally it's different. But with us, you can't necessarily be going into a market and sort of stealing someone's bread. That's how they will take it, and it would be personal. So for me, it was just a matter of undercutting, and all that which I learned in university. For example, the pricing techniques, right? I would then say, okay, do I use competitive pricing? Do I use price penetration, market penetration, and so forth? So I just, everything that I just got in university, I literally applied it in the business. It was a matter of just testing it out, just experimenting whatever, coming out with different results and using a different technique, and then business just works in that way. You just, as you go along, you just figure things out, and you see what works, you see what doesn't work, you see what's necessary and what's not, and eventually you get to a phase where you're like, now we're working, now the business is automatic, now let's look at other things, other dimensions in the business. So that's been the journey since 2015 up till this point. However, funny enough, when I went to Johannesburg, I wanted to expand the business, and I had a different concept, and I believed that I had already knocked on the market, I had done well on the market. So I thought, let me go to Joburg and expand it. But the market in Joburg is totally different. You need more time, you need more energy, and so I just thought, look, let's come back to Cape Town. And then there's lockdown. So for now, I'm just re-strategizing, reprioritizing, looking at what is important, planning, just doing marketing, social media all the time. And hopefully we can go to probably level 201, or even better, we can go back to normal, so that we can function normal and operate normally.
Thanks a lot, Sinethemba. And I know that, I mean, you mentioned so many different facets now. And, I understand the Johannesburg market and the people there, they're just a different kettle of individuals. And, they just grind and they just work.
Yeah.
And come 2020, you've really made progress on your journey so far. And I can hear that, and from what you said, that you've been creative, you've experimented, which is so important. And I always say that you need to experiment to see what works versus what does not. Otherwise, you'll never know. But now come 2020, you have many desires, you have many goals for your business. And now COVID-19 comes. Just share with me a bit about thoughts on that, and what was going through your mind at the time when you saw this happening, and also how have you managed to perhaps maybe to adapt during this time?
Yeah, so it's an extremely difficult time. I don't want to lie, and that's the downside of being a young entrepreneur or SME, or running an SME, is that when the vicissitudes of life hit, you have to sort of be creative. So for now, to me, it was just a matter of just stopping and reflecting back, really. So I've just been doing a great reflection all the way back to 2015, to the first 80 Rand profit that I made. And I've been looking at certain things. I've been, studying my bank statements. I've been looking at my marketing styles, my marketing techniques. I've been looking at what had worked for me and what had not. I've looked at how I spend my finances and how I've not. I've just been doing a great reflection all the way back, all the way back to 2015, and I've seen exactly what I've been doing and what I've not. So if we talk about it on a positive sense, talk about COVID-19 in business on a positive sense, it was just a time to stop, because you're constantly on a roll. It's always an unending process where you're just going and you just take a day at a time, a year at a time, you know. So that's what I've been doing. Operation wise, unfortunately not, you know, and I'm still very worried because, you know, most likely for the next 12 months we won't be operating. And it, it's the real thing now. It's what to do, what is next, what is an alternative to this, you know. And so that's another thing that COVID-19 has taught me, is to always have a plan B, should the vicissitude of life, the unwelcoming circumstances hit you. uh, right now I'm working on, you know, some on a project that has got to do with an essential service, which in a way has nothing to do with my events business, but it it's still business, it's still SME. So while I'm looking and I'm working on my business and reprioritizing and re-strategizing and doing all the necessities so that I can be ahead of the game by the time we open, I am also working. It also gave me another opportunity to work on a different industry, and to explore it more and to research it more. So this time has just been a time of research, a time of reflection, a time of resting, you know, and a time of replanning. I mean, I looked at my business plan, the goals that I had up till 2020 from the day I started, and I've seen how much growth I've come, you know, how much I've gained, how much I've reached, how much, you know, I've achieved, you know. And it's funny because the business plan is always perfect, yet when you actually get into the operational side of things in business, things are just totally different. So the outcome that I had on my business plan is totally different to the outcome that I have now. And the outcome that I have now is the better outcome that I never anticipated, as opposed to that. So I just also reworked on my business plan all the way up to 2030 now. And we'll just take it from there and see. So this period has just been a period for all of those components, just to put it together and see what's what. Yeah.
Awesome, Senatemba, and thank you really for that. And I think that's a great message also to for the young audience and young
Yes.
entrepreneurs out there wanting to perhaps maybe looking at what can they do during this time. Really also to take a step back, to reflect and
Yes.
have a look and to assess what have they
Yes.
done, how have they progressed, and to try and adjust going forward and going ahead. So I know that I mean, you are in the event promotions, and also you are very familiar with the marketing side of your business. But I just want to know if you perhaps maybe have a question in regards to marketing for your business or on your business, or perhaps maybe there has been a challenge that you've had from a marketing point of view. You are welcome to ask me now. You can ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. So just besides your sort of traditional marketing routes, such as your social media and perhaps if you go to your posters, right, and perhaps now your website, I'm still trying to find other marketing sort of means and techniques just outside of that, you know, sphere. And so what I've also been researching is what other marketing tool can I use for my business, but that is relevant, and also that will reach out to my actual audience that I'm looking for. So for me, it's just been that question, you know. Just when someone Googles you, I know it's quite simple. These are quite simple sort of things, but when someone Googles you, I mean, I Google myself sometimes, and I see myself on Google, but not the way I want to see myself. You know, so I want to improve on the quality. How does one improve on the quality of marketing? You know, and be able to have such a great marketing technique or skill or component that anybody, like anybody, could easily reach out to you and be able to do that outside your traditional routes such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and a website.
So a great question, Sinethemba, and I think it's a question that many people battle with because if you look at today's time, I mean it's almost as if
Yeah.
you have the social media aspect of it, but it's a market that is all kind of cluttered, if I may use that word, and it does become challenging to
Yeah.
break through on using those tools. So I think one way that thinking about your business and also I mean you've been in business since 2013,
15,
2015.
15, yeah.
That's about 5 years, and
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if you have incorporated have a database, but I think a newsletter might be a good option as number one.
Okay.
To reach out to your past clients or even to new clients, potential clients that you do get in contact with. So I think a database is going to be very important.
Okay.
If you do not have one, perhaps maybe to start on creating one. So that you can then implement let's say, a monthly newsletter. And it's also going to help you really to stay on top of mind. I think now during the quiet times, it's great to continue that reminder, sending it out, not spamming, sending out on let's say, a once a month, just to stay on top of mind of your previous clients. So that when the time comes, when COVID is ending, then really then you will come to mind because you've been there on the forefront. I think secondly, with your database, also a tactic that is not really being used at the moment, and I myself have been doing research on it as well, is perhaps maybe SMS marketing. So
Okay.
text marketing, and I think
Funny, I thought about that last night, yeah.
okay, and I think your market is generally would probably it will probably appeal to that market. So and I mean SMS, I've ran previous SMS campaigns in other industries that I've worked in. I think you can really play around with the type of offerings and promotions that you will use in there. But in order to use it, I think you would obviously need to have a database. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, it sounds like you already have something or something similar to that lines. You can tweak it. And then I think using the SMS tactic is also not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And really something that not many, almost I want to say 80% of business industries out there in South Africa is not using at the moment. And I'm not referring to the SMSs that you get from MTN and Vodacom. This is completely different to that. So I think definitely those are the two tactics that you can use, that you can try out and then see which one, obviously, like you might mention, just to see the return on investment and what grabs people and what does not grab people.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I will absolutely, go ahead and see how. Thank you.
Only pleasure, Sinethemba. So I just want to check, does that answer your question? I Sinethemba, just want to double check, does that
Hi, Rucien.
answer your question?
That answers my question very well. Thank you very much.
Okay, awesome.
I will make sure that I can use those and see how I can work around it.
Awesome. And then you're welcome to reach out to me. You're welcome to reach out to me afterwards if you perhaps maybe have any questions. You have my contact details. Any further, if you have any queries on or in regards to that. But thank you so much, Sinethemba, for your time.
Thank you.
And it was great chatting to Sinethemba Dangazele, who is the owner and founder of PES Promotions. and events with Sinethemba, and really an enthusiastic an individual who has vision, and an individual who is hardworking. And I am definitely looking forward to still continuing to see the progress that he will be making in his business. Thank you so much, Sinethemba, for joining me this morning.
Thank you once again for having me. I had super fun.